Welcome to The Gorgeous Effect, the podcast that's about to rock your marketing world. I'm Julie Chanel, and with my co-founder, Cathy Olson, we're the masterminds behind Funnel Gorgeous and FG Funnels. We're about to drop some serious tea on how to create funnels that not only look amazing, but actually convert into customers. We'll chat mouth-watering offers, copy, design, and give you an inside look of some of our best and worst funnels. No smoke and mirrors, just real strategies that work from two ladies who have been around the funnel block. So grab your coffee or something stronger, we won't judge, and get ready to unleash the gorgeous effect on your business. It's time to show the world what you've got. Let's do this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Gorgeous Effect. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different where I am going to be putting Julie kind of on the hot seat and
Picking my brain.
Picking her brain. Because we got this question a lot, and I consistently see it coming up about profitability. And so the things that we have, making sure they're making the most money they possibly can. Our efforts are being spent in the right places. We're not wasting time, money, energy, tears on anything that's not working, but really just like actually improving what we are currently doing. And so this is something that Julie does with a lot of private clients. And so I'm sure this question you get asked every day anyways. So I'd like to kind of kick it off by asking you a question, and we can kind of dive in further. But when people are setting up their digital offers, like where do you see them wasting money or kind of leaving money on the table? And then how can they, like most often, like the number one problem that you kind of tackle first, and then kind of how do you fix that problem?
Yeah. Leaving money on the table. Okay. It really, honestly, the first question is, what type of offer are we talking about? Are we talking about a high ticket offer? Are we talking about a signature like course, like mid ticket, or are we talking low ticket? I don't care. We can do any of them, but we always have to start with which type of offer are we discussing, because it's different for all of them.
Which do you get that question asked most? For what type of offer? Like digital offers, kind of low ticket stuff, or do you get that asked more of high ticket offers?
I think right at the moment it feels like the low ticket is sort of top of mind, but that could be because we're coaching, 150 plus people on low ticket funnels.
Well,
but
I think low tickets are doing really well right now. So like, I think that's why, right? It's like high tickets have been around for so long. And I think more people are kind of leaning into low tickets. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay. So where do people waste money in low ticket? I've struggled to explain this, but there are like price humps, I should say. So like when you go to the candy store as a kid, once you hit $5, right, it's like a bigger deal because you go in with a $5 bill and like anything under $5 you can buy. But as soon as you go over 5, now you got to have a $10 bill. And as soon as you go over 10, now you have to have a $20 bill. And so I find that there are these sort of psychological price humps that we all kind of ascribe to, even though we don't use cash and pennies and any of that kind of stuff anymore. And so when people build their low ticket offers, the strategy is to get the price as high as you can get it, as close as you can get it to the hump without going over. So here's a tangible example. Someone will come to me and say, I want to sell a product for $7. I want low ticket. And I'm like, we'll sell it for $9 because you're closer to the hump of 10 without going over. And you're not going to see one difference in conversion between 7 and 9. And so when we teach it, we often tell people to do the 27 or 29 because it's right up against that hump of $30. Or we recommend they do 37 right up on 40 or 47 right up on 50. And so the people who kind of play in those middle numbers, they're losing out on profit because you're not going to see a difference. And we actually have tested the difference between 27 and 37, and there's not a huge change in conversion either. So when you're running a low ticket funnel, you want to get right up to that limit and not go over, because that's where you're going to make the most money. And I would say the second way people waste money with low ticket funnels are not having an order bump and an OTO, because those two things are where your profit lives. You don't make any money on that first offer. Sometimes you don't make money on the first offer or the order bump, But the order bump and the OTO psychologically are easier sales to get. And so if you launch a funnel and you don't have an OTO, I mean, it's like you're burning money on the front lawn because you really should have one.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting because when you talk about these different price breaks, it's psychologically it makes sense that like not only are you trying to kind of sell them on the thing, right? You're actually like they're the whole time they're deciding if it's worth the value, right? And so I guess can you talk about like when do you tell them the price on a page? Do you tell them up front with a low ticket offer? Do you tell them up front so then they know the value, then they go, or do you do it further down the page? Like how is that different than other offers?
Yeah. So on a low ticket funnel, typically you're running traffic directly to the sale. And so you want the reader to understand that this is a paid offer because if they think it's free and then they realize it's paid, that's going to create disappointment. So in a low ticket offer, you actually want the order form and the price and everything to be kind of front and center right at the top so that they are reading the page with that frame. But with every other type of offer, with mid-ticket offers, you don't want to introduce the price until you've gotten through what we call the marketing argument, which helps them understand why they need the product. And with high ticket, you don't usually even tell the price until they're actually on the phone with you. So the price gets farther away. The
Right.
higher it goes, usually because you just need more education because people will panic if they see the price without really understanding why it is priced that way.
Yeah, so that makes sense of what you're saying is that that's why the price is so important on a low ticket offer because you start with it.
Yes.
It's like you're anchoring them at that price first, which is
Yeah.
like part of the value, right? And if that's too high, then you're going to lose them already in the beginning. So where so the price is part of the USP, right? Or whatever. It's like you're actually going to get this value for that lower price. So you're
Yeah.
starting off with that proposition of like, okay, here's the value versus like let's sell the idea, the container, what's included, and then I'll tell you how much I'm going to charge you for it. But of course, you always talk about the price expectation game
Yeah.
on that. But I guess it is different with low ticket offers. Is there is no the expectation is exactly what you said because it's
Yeah,
right at the top.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting because when we talk about wasting money or like not considering profitability, the funny thing is that with a low ticket offer, typically the reason you're doing that is because you want to run ads to it and you want to scale. So people waste money by not making the funnel as amazing as they possibly can, by not creating enough creative in the ads, and by spending too little. So the irony is that for low ticket, you actually have to spend more to get it to like do what you need it to do. Whereas with high ticket, you can get away with a Google Doc and a phone call. Like you do not necessarily need to have all this money spent in ads and all this creative and the funnel and the offer has to be perfect because the high ticket world, you're really selling partly your personality. It's a in-person sale, if you will, because you're on the phone. And so the higher the offer, the usually easier it is to kind of bootstrap it or door to door sales it because you can use the Google Docs and the phone calls and stuff like that. But on the low ticket, you're actually better off spending really good money to get it right because those are driven by Facebook ads or Instagram ads or whatever kind of ads. And you are going to cold traffic and you're not gonna get a sale unless you've really dotted your I's and crossed your T's.
So I feel like you just unsold everyone on doing a low ticket offer because, well, and not in a bad way. I just want you to explain, like, because you're kind of like, oh, hey, you have to spend more to make less, right? And then people are like, oh, okay, well, then I'd like to spend
Yeah.
less
Okay.
and make more. So can you explain about the profit, like what to expect profitability wise, and
Yeah.
why you would do a low ticket funnel, just so that people kind of understand?
Yeah. I realized. Okay. But what's funny is so I just did this with a client the other day. So she has a membership and she wanted to know what was the best funnel to get more members. Right. And so we were trying to figure out, do we do a free webinar? Do we do a low ticket funnel? So I ran the math and it was so obvious that the only way to truly scale her membership was with a low ticket funnel because with the free webinar, she was getting tons of leads. And so, she would grow her audience list pretty high. But she was ending up with about the same number of members in her membership, even with thousands of leads. And then on the other side, we did the low ticket funnel. It was like an evergreen, like 14-day challenge. And the crazy thing is if she gets the KPIs right, she can spend like 100 grand on ads because she'll break even on the funnel. Like she won't make money on the funnel, but then every single person who comes into her membership, it's just all profit, right? And so the scalability factor was like, you can't spend $100,000 on your webinar ads because you will never make that money back. You'll get customers and you'll get members, but then you'll have to pay off all your ad spend with all that money. But if you use this low ticket funnel, you could just spend and spend and spend because the funnel will pay for it. And then all of those people coming in. And so I was like, there's absolutely zero reason not to do a low ticket funnel because her audience size is huge. Like she could scale this. She could have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 members in her club because she's serving a broad market. To her, the low ticket funnel could completely change her life.
Right. So what you're saying is that's a traffic, right? Like if you're trying to get traffic through paid when it's a high ticket, it's going to be too expensive. So it will be more expensive to do it that way. But this is the way to do it through traffic versus high ticket is kind of more like you said, bootstrappy, word of mouth, social media,
Yeah,
emails, right?
all that. I mean, eventually high ticket can be also scaled as well. But I'm just saying if you're first starting out and you need to make
Yeah.
5 grand, you're probably better off, doing a high ticket bootstrapping kind of model.
Right, right, right.
But like if I said to you, I'm going to give you 100 grand to spend on ads, and then you can sell whatever you want to them once you've acquired them. Like that's like that you'd be like, oh my gosh, heck yeah. Like give me a hundred
Right.
grand, right? And you would use that 100 grand, you'd get that audience because that's what we all need is the audience. And then you'd make all that money. I mean, that's essentially what a low ticket funnel does, is it gives you
100%.
money to spend on ads.
Yeah, so this is what we're just wrapping up paid lead maker right now, and we're gonna reopen it for Black Friday. So if you guys want to do a low ticket
Yeah,
offer, you definitely need to get paid lead maker, because it's everything that Julie's talking about now. Okay, so like, but profitability percentages, right?
sure.
How do you know that I don't know, like, how do you know you're doing well? Like, do a lot of people ask you kind of, okay, my profitability is this? I feel like we used to be at like 75% and we were, profitability. And we
It's
were
too
like,
high.
and we, no, I know. And we were like, oh man, we're wasting 25%. And then we're like, no, you don't understand. In the real world, 75 is actually too high. It means you guys are doing too much sweat equity and you're not
Yeah.
actually spending enough. So what do you look for in profitability,
Yeah.
percentages?
Yeah. So for online businesses, so we're talking about coaching businesses, consultants, course creators, agencies, service providers. The range is somewhere between 30 and 50%. That's like considered a healthy business. So if you are pulling in 100 grand a month as a business and you have somewhere between 30,000 and 50,000 left at the end of the month, your business is considered quite healthy for an online business. This is not true for real life businesses, and this is not true for e-commerce, right? I think Walmart has like a 3% profit margin or something. I don't know, something crazy like that. So this is for online businesses. If you're over 50%, that is a sign that you're doing a lot. Sometimes that's okay. If it's a lifestyle business, have at it. But if you have any hope of like becoming an owner instead of self-employed, or if you want to sell your business or anything like that, that's a sign that you're in it too much. If it's lower than 30%, it's not necessarily that things are horrible. It's just, and this is an interesting thing. I was talking to someone that I thought was really cool. It just means you're in growth mode. So the difference between growth and scale. So growth, when a company is growing, it is spending more to get bigger, right? So the profit margin goes down. So if you're between 0 and 30%, you're in growth mode. But once you go to scale is when your revenue increases without your expense line increasing. That's the difference. Growth has revenue and expenses growing at the same time. Scale has expenses staying the same and revenue growing. And so there's a really big difference. So if you're panicked and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm at 10%, well, are you in growth mode? Because if you're in growth mode, then that maybe makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I love to hear your thoughts on, okay, so when we're thinking about conversion rates, that's like the number one thing that we can tweak, or I'm sorry, that's the most important thing to change in as far as profitability is concerned, right? Because
Yes.
if you think about traffic coming into a funnel, you if you even increase your, especially in a low ticket funnel, if you even increase it, 1%, that becomes exponential, because especially if you have upsells and order bumps, right?
Right.
So kind of the way it works is, if they come into your funnel, they buy the first thing, then they see the second thing, and then you have, so again, so if you have that first number even bump up, like I said, 1%, 2%, or even half of a percent, that means a
Yep.
lot more people are going to see the second offer, which is more expensive, right? And you're so so when we're thinking about conversion rates and those being the most important thing to increasing profitability, what do you do when, like, let's say you're sitting down, you're looking at my, or let's say, yeah, you're looking at my funnel, what would you tell me to do to increase my conversion rate? Just like if you'd never seen my funnel before, what would you say? What would you look at? And what levers would you suggest I pull? I know it's a very general question, but
Yeah.
I'm
No,
sure
it's
you
okay.
have
I
certain
mean,
things you look at. Yeah.
so for high ticket funnels, there's a lot of points in the funnel, right? So it's like application rate, then it's show up rate to the phone call, then it's close rate on the actual phone call, right? So I look at which one is underperforming, and if they're all underperforming, I start with the top one. If that one's doing well, then I go to whichever one is underperforming and we try to tweak that. But for a mid-ticket funnel or like a webinar funnel, we do the exact same thing, but 9 times out of 10, the problem is the presentation. People do not realize that they suck at presenting. Like they just do. And it takes a ton of practice, and it's like any skill. And so most of the time, all the levers to pull are in the presentation itself. And then on a low ticket funnel, the number that's going to make the biggest difference for the whole funnel is that first offer, right? So if you can go from a 3% conversion to a 3.1%, that's more important than going from a 20% conversion on the order bump to a 20.1%. So I usually start with the main offer and we try to get that as high as humanly possible. And the place that we always start is the top of the page. And anything that is above the scroll, like before you have to scroll, especially on mobile, we focus on. And we make sure that every single pixel is placed there for a reason, from the credibility to the headline to the testimonial that sits there to the call to action. And that's really where we spend most of the optimization time at first, because 9 times out of 10, most people are bouncing before they even start scrolling down the page.
Yeah, it's interesting because we always, whenever we teach anything, we start with offer.
I
Like
know.
in
Yep.
FG Society, it's the very first phase. So if you guys aren't familiar with FG Society, we have three phases. We kind of have a bonus phase at the end, but we won't bother talking about that. But the first one is offer. We go through the whole offer phase, and then if you want to become certified, you actually take an exam in offer in an offer strategy, really.
Yep.
But in anytime we teach Launch Gorgeous, that's always the first phase. And so it is like the, I mean, I know none of them are like the most important, but offer is the most important, because
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's kind of the
I
big
don't think you
domino.
can do what, yeah, because if you have, so the three are offer, copy, design, or funnel building. And it's like, yeah, you could have a beautiful page, you could have amazing copy, but if the offer isn't good, then like that's, you just lost them, right? And
Yeah.
so I do think it's probably the first place to go, at least, because almost, do you think that everybody's offer can be improved? Like, do you even think, I guess it doesn't, we don't change ours, right? Like once the offers create, I don't know, do we? Do we ever change our offers? Like, do we ever, like, if we were to look at our funnels and they weren't doing well, would it ever be the offer?
So, I mean, yes, there are times when changing the offer makes sense. I think that that's not where we're weak. So most of our
Yeah.
offers
It's
work.
hard to say because for us, because the it's like our superpower. It's
That's
like
our
the
superpower. So,
design never really doesn't change unless I say it changes. I think sometimes we do change it, but it's more, we don't really change like a solid offer. Like I think sometimes we were kind of relaunching things all the time, especially with Launch Gorgeous. We might change the way we do
we'll
something.
optimize it and make it better,
Yeah.
but we don't ever like, I mean, I'm not a big changer of offers just because I think it
Yeah.
can confuse the customer. If something needs to change, I'd rather just sunset it and start something new. There's optimization, but the thing is, that advice is coming from the place of I know that I'm creating good offers in the first place. So
Right.
if you're not sure that your offer is good, like you didn't do
Yeah.
in fact, I was having a call with someone yesterday. I was like, if you haven't done an offer brief, an offer stack, an offer copy, like don't even talk to me, right? Like,
That's true.
and so if you haven't done that, then there's a very high likelihood that your offer does need to pivot. But in a lot of cases, just starting a new offer is easier than trying to like wrangle an existing
Sure.
one.
That's
Especially if
that's
you have a lot of customers and expectations and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to just wrap up this episode with one thing about profitability
yeah.
because I mean, in the internet marketing scene, right? We are all, even though we know that the big numbers are like they don't mean anything, we still get entrapped by them. We see people like
Mm,
become a 6-figure business owner, become a 7-figure business owner. I made 8 figures, right? And it means absolutely nothing. Like it really truly means absolutely nothing when someone tells you they've made $1 million. Because profitability is everything to a bootstrapping business owner. Like if you're going to go out and you're going to raise venture capital or you're going to build a business to sell and you don't need to be profitable, like you want to go like the route a la Uber, like have at it. But if you're trying to bootstrap a business, profitability is the number one number that you want to pay attention to. Even if you don't have high profitability, you want to pay attention to it so that you're intentionally in growth mode or intentionally in scale mode. And do not follow anyone just because they say they've made $1 million because 98% of them are full of you know what.
Yeah, I remember when I first kind of got to working with you and I would be like, look at what this person did. Look what that and you're like, they're full of crap, Cathy. They're full of crap. Or you're like, I've actually seen the back end and I know. And especially that's one thing that's interesting too. And maybe it's a whole other episode, so it'll take us off on a tangent about some with these high ticket coaching programs. That was one of the things that you told me that the
Oh yeah.
profitability is so low on and it's
Yes.
one of the reasons we've never really done an offer like that because every time because it seems so shiny. And
Right.
so, again, I don't know if launches a whole new podcast, so feel free to shut it down if it does. But that is one of the least profitable is having like coaches and coaching program and other people in there because that's one thing I've learned, at least from if I could tell you something looking, from the inside, from the outside, like if I could tell myself something before, I would say don't go down that route because people are the number one expense in like any
Yeah.
business.
I mean, when you see people who run those like 5 to 10K coaching programs with all the coaches between your ad spend, your sales team, your coaches, your profit margin is razor thin. The only model, and a lot of people honestly don't like this model, is like the model that I have run for my mastermind has been profitable, but it requires so much work on the part of the coach because if you're trying to build a coaching program that you don't have to coach in, like your profit margin is, I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
more people get close to bankruptcy trying to build these 5 to 6K coaching programs with all these coaches in there, and they just can't make the numbers work. And you think, oh my God, you're getting 6,000 per customer. How come you're not making raking the million? And they make millions. That's the thing. These
Right.
coaching programs, they do scale and make millions, and then there's like nothing to show for it. So when people ask me, hey, I want to do that, I'm like, then you better like coaching because if you want to build that program, sure, build a 5, 10K program and you be the coach and you be the salesperson and then yeah, it's a great lifestyle business, but
Yeah.
like that's going to be your world. And I know there's lots of people that'll disagree with me, so maybe we need to do a whole episode on it because there's
I
plenty
know
of
that's why I'm like,
people.
I feel like I'm opening up a box
I know,
with
because
the
I know
last
there's
question
people that are
here.
going to come on here and be like, well, I've made 4 million on my, $18,000 coaching program. And some of the coaching programs to make that profitability, they just charge astronomical amounts like
Right.
25, 50, 75, 100, 150,000. And people think, oh my gosh, those numbers are astronomical, but I know exactly why they're doing it because they
Right.
need to make margin.
Yeah. You got mouths to feed now.
You got mouths to feed, you got
Like,
events to put on, you got
oh
swag
my
to give out,
gosh.
you got coaches to pay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So basically, that's the most expensive funnel to run. So the least, I don't know what the least expensive is probably word of mouth, right? Something where
yep.
you're getting clients. And I would say the least expensive is the funnel after your PLM funnel, right?
Yes,
Because if you're
yes.
using the PLM funnel, which is the paid lead maker, if you're using that funnel to bring in clients, then the cheapest offer that you're going to have, or in the highest profitability, would be, something maybe mid ticket or low high ticket that's right after the PLM offer. And then it's
Right.
not so high that it's, you need coaches and events and swag.
Well, and this is
No.
this is one of the reasons why like we launched a scalable coach method is because I think that if anyone has found a lifestyle business semi-scalable coaching container, it's me. Like that's why that's why I taught it in scalable coach method.
Right.
And I was head of these big coaching programs and they did make money, but you have to charge way more. So don't, like if you're going to do one of those programs, like minimum 18 to $25,000 is your minimum if you want to have profitability.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think this was a good call today. Thanks for picking my brain.
Yeah. Thanks for letting us dig in there.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for listening. As always, we love reviews. And hit us up at Funnel Gorgeous on Instagram. If you love this episode. Talk soon, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We're just getting started with this podcast, and we're so excited to have you on this journey with us. If you found value in today's episode, we'd be over the moon if you'd consider subscribing. It's like a virtual high five that keeps us going. And hey, if you're feeling extra gorgeous, leaving a review would mean the world to us. Your words not only make our day, but it also helps other amazing folks just like you find our show through your review. Lastly, if you know someone who could use a little sales pep talk, why not spread the love? Share this episode and let's grow this gorgeous community together.